We're leaving Beijing on Air Koryo Flight 152. Our destination, Pyongyang. Welcome to Air Koryo's airplane of Juche-oriented Korea, vigorously advancing towards the socialist powerful nation by the song and politics of the great leader Comrade Kim Jong-il. It certainly sets the tone. The North Korean Tupolevs crossed the border and taken us through the looking glass. We've left the modern world of the 21st century. According to the Kim family dynasty that rules North Korea, we're in the 1st century. Time travel to an era of extreme socialist ideals, and the centre of the world according to North Korean maps. The sun rises over the world's most secretive capital, Pyongyang. Despite 2,500 years of history, the city's architecture is exclusively Soviet era. North Korea allows entry to 3,000 Western tourists a year. We've infiltrated one of these groups for a tightly controlled tour. Any contact with ordinary North Koreans is out of the question. Still, we start the journey with a song. In theory, this footage is forbidden. We film when our guides aren't looking, a game of cat and mouse that lasts 5 days. North Korea needs foreign money, but the regimes refuse to lift the veil on a country that's been left behind by the rest of the world. Shortly after leaving Pyongyang, we see what seems to be a corpse lying in the distance, in the middle of nowhere. It's hardly a warm welcome to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. We also can't forget that this is still a nation at war, a conflict frozen in time for 50 years. The first mandatory visit on our tour is to the demilitarized zone, the line that divides nations, families, north and south. Up to 1 million soldiers guard the zone, a world record. Our guide's a North Korean officer. Western tourists are rare, but Russians, and especially Chinese, come in the hundreds of thousands. It's mass tourism, North Korean style.
Be careful, respect the flag.
Take the photo, take the photo.
Smile, smile.
Comrade guide, we must leave. Put everyone in a line, comrade guide.
We continue. Cars in North Korea are a rarity. Even bikes aren't often seen. There are still, however, a few temples.
Today, the Korean monks in our country enjoy their freedom of this country.
Freedom here is a relative term. To the outside world, they seem anything but.
When President Kim Il-sung and leader Kim Jong-il visited these temples, they gave the valuable lessons to restoration of these temples. So later they sent a lot of funding and distribution of these temples.
You're not shooting?
Huh?
You're not shooting?
No. But I thought, frankly, that there is no religion.
Our country?
Yes.
No. Our country has Christians, monks, Buddhists. Our country has a few church and many temples. But people don't want to go there because they're very busy. Don't think about Jesus. Not enough time to think about that.
It's true that North Koreans have a lot to do. The nation's 25 million inhabitants are subjected to a rigorous routine of daily chores and collective work. Under constant monitoring, guided by the inspiration of Kim Il-sung, the father of the nation's system of Juche self-reliance. Called the Eternal President, Kim Sr. rests in this mausoleum, enshrined and surrounded by the highest security. Thousands of soldiers come to this sacred place every week to mourn over the great leader's remains, the son of the nation, who died almost 20 years ago. In his 40 years of rule, Kim Il-sung crafted his own legend and installed the communist world's first dynasty. He also built up the Korean People's Army, with the greatest number of soldiers per head of population on the planet. For them, it's a perpetual state of war against imperialists, most of the rest of the world.
You can have a picture of the Marx and the Lenin.
Hello, can take pictures?
But what do North Koreans themselves think? What do these images mean to them?
This is army exercise. Early morning, get up, just shouting. With that, also clear the sword. So after get up, shouting, anything, whatever they like.
There seems to be a lot of singing in North Korea. Even if the words change, the meaning behind them is constant and crystal clear.
Now we will sing a song for you.
The visit to this Pyongyang school is a traditional stop on the guided tour. It's the same one every time. Now we're 120 meters underground in the city's subway, at one of the 2 stations we're allowed to visit. No foreigners ever seen the other stops. Any contact comes as furtive looks that seem surprised, maybe even hostile. No one speaks to us. It's as though the population is mute. This man is turned away, but he doesn't make an issue of it. He too is silent. Deep beneath the streets, Pyongyang's metro doubles as a nuclear shelter. The nation's focus on security is obsessive.
What is it?
They are reading the daily newspapers, announcing the newspapers, so the passengers can hear what the articles in the news.
So what are the news? Because we don't know the news either. What are the news?
In one university for the technology in Pyongyang city, the one teacher in the university made some research, and then they applied into one factory to prove his research. So it was successful, so they are announcing that.
One item doesn't seem to be in the broadcast. Escalating tension with South Korea that's led to military maneuvers, and Pyongyang's mobilizing its arsenal on the border. The country said it was on the brink of war and threatened to reduce Seoul to ashes.
Our great comrade General Kim Jong-il visited his valorous soldiers today to encourage them in their fight against the imperialist enemy.
It's time to head for the border. It means 24 hours of travel across the country by train. There are hundreds of tanks in transit, covered with tarpaulins, camouflaged to guard against enemy satellite photos. Soldiers are everywhere. Taking pictures of the military is forbidden, and filming its mobilization in this case might well be considered spying. We need to be careful. Our tour's coming to an end, and there's still no direct contact, except for the faces flashing past the train's windows. Small glimpses at the rest of the nation, and its ubiquitous slogans reminding us that North Korea has just one leader and one destiny. At last we managed to film this interview, uncensored, with a bureaucrat who speaks to us in Chinese.
I live in Pyongyang. Everything is good for me. But you know, we're privileged here. Yes, foreigners like you are welcome, on the condition that you respect our country. We all know that some foreigners come here to hurt us, to destroy us. We must always be ready to defend ourselves. That's normal.
North Koreans view each day of their lives through a black and white filter. There's little space to think of anything but the national message, government propaganda, and clinging to an existence in the Stalinist state. While across the border in China, the rest of the world moves on without it, just a few hundred meters away.